This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Crochet cute things. Please don't skip the intro because I'm going to go over the materials that you need, as well as some important notes to keep in mind when you're following the tutorial. First of all, the patterns for the leaf branches and the hammock are completely customizable, so you can go ahead and make them any size that you want. Most of the tutorials in this tutorial are customizable, so with that being said, you can use any yarn and hook size. However, if you want to use the same as me, I used a 4.5mm hook for all of the projects, as well as my favorite yarn, which is Yarn Art Jeans Plus, and I do have it linked on my Amazon storefront, so you can purchase it from there, the exact shades that I love using. Then for the garland that you can hang up on your wall or on your door, you are going to need a wooden stick. This can be any size stick, whatever you prefer, it's completely up to you. For the hanging pot, you are going to need some stuffing to stuff the pot in, and then you're going to need a needle for sewing, some pearls if you want to add them onto your flowers. And then for the hammock, I would recommend getting some hooks from IKEA, these self-adhesive ones that have tape on the back, so you can just stick them on your wall and then hang your hammock up. Next, please pay attention to the timestamps of this video. Refer to the timestamp to see what you want to make. So if you want to make small leaves for your garland that you can put up on your door or wall, then look at the timestamp that says small leaves and then go ahead and follow that. So you do have to refer to the timestamps to see what you want to make, because I show a whole bunch of different things. I show how to make small flowers, medium flowers, large flowers, small leaf branches, large leaf branches, roughly leaf branches. So please always refer to the timestamps to see what you want to make. Also, whether you're a crocheter who's thinking of starting your own business, selling digital crochet patterns or your own pieces, or if you're someone who's already managing a growing brand, I'd love to introduce you to today's sponsor, which is Squarespace. Get started with one of the professional website templates with designs for every category. Then customize your look, update content, and add features to fit your unique needs. I personally love all the unique touches I can add to my site and tailor it to my aesthetic. Present your work using Squarespace's professional portfolio designs and display projects in customizable galleries. You can make any Squarespace template do what you want, so your idea, brand, or business stands out online. With a huge range of various tools and easy-to-use templates, you can start your online store or business to sell digital and physical products. You can also monetize your content by selling membership access to exclusive sections of your website. So if you'd like to create a website of your own, I highly recommend that you head to squarespace.com, try it out for yourself with a free trial, and once you're ready to launch, you can use the link in the description box to save 10% off your first purchase of a domain or website. For the pot, we're going to get started by making the bottom of it. You're going to go ahead and make a magic ring. I'm going to do this really slowly. You're just going to hold on to it like this, wrap it around your fingers, making sort of like an X shape, and hold on to it with your other finger like that. Then you're going to take your hook, insert it under, and grab onto the end that's a little bit further from you. Bring it up and twist like that. Now you're going to grab onto this end over here, and you're going to chain one while it's still on your fingers. And there you'll have your magic ring. You're going to go ahead and insert 8 single crochets into this magic ring. Remember that your chain one will not count as a stitch. So go ahead, insert your hook into the magic ring, pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull it through both the loops on your hook, and that is your first single crochet. Go ahead and get a bobby pin or stitch marker and mark that very first single crochet you made. We are going to be working in continuous rounds, so it's important to always mark the first single crochet of every round. Now go ahead and do 7 more so that we have a total of 8 single crochets in round 1. That's what you'll have at the end of round 1. And now we're just going to pull this a little bit tighter. And now we're going to start round 2. You're going to start all your rounds from the first stitch of the previous round. So insert your hook into that marked stitch, which is your first single crochet. Remove your marker. Go ahead and do 1 single crochet in that stitch. Now this is going to be your first stitch of round 2, so go ahead and mark that with your stitch marker. Now our pattern for round 2 is to insert 2 single crochets in every stitch. So starting from the one where you just did your first single crochet, you're going to insert your hook back into that stitch, do another single crochet. Now from now on, you're going to go into every stitch and you're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch. We're going to start round 3 once again from where the marked stitch is, and this time our pattern is going to be 1 single crochet and then an increase. An increase is basically just 2 single crochets in the same stitch. After making your first single crochet in that marked stitch, you're going to mark it once again, because remember, we always mark the first stitch of every round. So our pattern starts from here. We did 1 single crochet. Now we need to do an increase in the next stitch. So you're going to insert your hook into the next stitch and do 2 single crochets, which is an increase. So the pattern is going to be 1 single crochet and then an increase, which is just 2 single crochets in the same stitch. We're going to start our next round. So once again, you insert your hook into that marked stitch to do your first single crochet. And since that's your first single crochet of the next round, you have to mark it once again. Now our pattern is going to be 2 single crochets and then an increase. So we did our first single crochet. In the next stitch, we're going to do our second single crochet. And then in the next stitch, we're going to do an increase, which is 2 single crochets in the same stitch. And we're going to repeat this all the way around, same as before. So we're going to do 1 single crochet, the second single crochet in the next stitch, and then an increase, which is 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So now we're going to do 3 single crochets and then an increase. So the number of single crochets that you do before an increase will increase by 1 every round. So if we've got our first single crochet, then we're going to do our second and our third. Remember, these are not in the same stitch, they are in the stitches that are next to each other. And then we're going to do an increase. So that's going to be 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So once again, we're going to do 1 single crochet, our second single crochet in the next stitch, our third single crochet in the next stitch. So that's 3 single crochets, and then in the next stitch, we're going to do an increase. I'm going to do my last round. The pattern is going to be 4 single crochets and then an increase. And then if you want to make your pot bigger, remember that you always have to mark the first stitch of every round that you're doing, and you're just going to increase the number of single crochets you do before an increase by 1. So for example, in the next round, you would do 5 single crochets and then an increase. In the round after that, you would do 6 single crochets and then an increase. So if you want to adjust the size of your pot to make it bigger, go ahead and do more rounds. So right now we're doing 4 single crochets and then an increase. So we've got 1, which is our first single crochet, 2, 3, 4, and now we're going to do an increase. Once again, an increase is just 2 single crochets in the same stitch. You're going to repeat this all the way around. When you've got the size that you want, we are going to be doing a round that will start the length of our pot. From now on, we're going to be doing something that I like to call repeat rounds, and repeat rounds have the same stitch count in every round, and all you have to do is just insert 1 single crochet in every stitch, no more increases. So the only difference is that for the first repeat round that you do after completing your increase rounds, you are not going to work into both of the loops of the stitch. Instead, you're only going to be working in the back loops over there like that. So you've got your front loop and your back loop. Just for this round, the one that is your first repeat round, you're going to work into the back loops and just do 1 single crochet in each. Always remember to mark the first stitch of every round. This step doesn't change. Now go ahead and insert your hook into the back loops of every stitch and just insert 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. This is what you should have so far. Your work is going to start to curl inwards just a bit. Now from now on, all the rounds that you have to do, you're just going to be doing 1 single crochet in every stitch, no increases at all, and you're going to be working through both the loops like normal. Always remember to mark the first stitch that you do for every round. Don't skip this step, please, otherwise you're going to lose track of how many rows you did. Now go ahead and just do 1 single crochet in every stitch until you have the size that you want for your pot. After doing your repeat rounds, you should have something like this that stands up by itself. To end your work, just go into the marked stitch, remove your marker, slip stitch, and then I like slip stitching into the next few stitches as well. So I just get my scissor, cut, pull, and just tighten. Then you can weave this end in or hide it however you like, and you're done making the pot. So this is your pot all completed. Now you're going to make the piece for the soil following the same exact steps that you did for the bottom of the pot. So your increase rounds from round 1 to 6, you can even do 7, 8, you can do a few extra rounds. Go ahead and follow the same steps that you did the increase rounds for the bottom of the pot, and make your piece for the soil and fasten off like how I showed you, the same way that you did for the pot. When you're making the soil and you're fastening it off, make sure you leave a long end for sewing later on. Here are all the leaf branches that I made. I made 4 of them. They're all kind of different lengths. Alright, so the next step is super duper easy. Just go ahead and take all the leaf branches that you made, fold them in half like that, and then at the top just put in a stitch marker or just attach them to a bobby pin. And now we're going to attach this piece right over here to the center of your soil right there, and you're going to need a plastic needle for this. So go ahead and get your plastic needle, get the same color yarn as your leaves, and let's insert it through and attach the yarn to your needle by making a knot. Push your needle through where you want to attach your piece. I'm just going to go through there, pull it out and go through, and then you can remove this if you want. You can remove your marker, just push it through like that. Now at the back, before I do any more sewing, I'm just going to quickly make a knot and just tighten it in place so that these ends don't move. And look how easy that was. Our leaves are attached to the soil. We finished that so quickly. I am genuinely surprised. Now we're going to go ahead and sew the soil onto our pot, but first go ahead and get your stuffing and fill the pot up with that. Place your soil on top, line it up to the stitches, and we're going to sew it all together. I'm only going to go through these loops over here, so I'm not going to go through both of them. I'm just going to go through the edge of my soil, and then I'm going to grab on to one of the loops from the pot, the one that is closest to me, so the front loop, and I'm going to pull my needle through and tighten. Now I'm going to repeat this all the way around. So I'm going to go through the soil first, then I'm going to go through the front loop of the pot. I'm going to do this all the way around. To make the hanging for the pot, it's super easy. Just get the yarn color that you want, and using your hook you can just slide it through the corner, and then you can attach it with a knot. Make sure you double knot it so that it's super secure. And then to hide this end, you can just tuck it into one of the stitches inside the pot. You would have attached one end and cut the length that you want for this hanging, and repeat the same step on to the other side over here. We're going to go ahead and get started by making a slip knot. Now we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Go ahead and make a double crochet into the 3rd chain. So you've got your first chain, your second chain, your 3rd chain over here. You're going to yarn over and go into that 3rd chain and make a double crochet. We're going to make our first leaf right now. Then yarn over, do another double crochet in that same 3rd chain. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to make the point of the leaf. After chaining 2, we are going to insert our hook in kind of a weird position, something that I've never shown before. We're gonna go in between your stitch over here and then through the loop that is closest to that, right over there. And then you're going to slip stitch. Once that's done, you're going to insert 2 more double crochets into that same chain. This is where it's important to make sure that your chain isn't too loose, otherwise your hole is going to become really, really big. This one over here. So make sure that your chains are a bit tighter than usual. Once that's done, you're going to chain 3, 2, 3, and we're going to slip stitch back into that same chain again. So when you're making a leaf, when you're doing all the steps for the leaf, you're going to be working into that same chain. And that is going to be your first leaf. Now go ahead and slip stitch into that last chain, the one that's near the slip knot. and you are done making your first leaf, just like that. So the hole is pretty big, but your leaves are going to be curling, so it won't show that much. As you do more leaves, it is going to get covered up. Now, every time you want to start a new leaf, you have to make sure that there are 3 chains for that leaf. So if you want some space for the stem, like right now I want some space for the stem, so I'm going to chain the space that I want to be the stem, and then I'm going to chain 3. And this chain 3 is where my leaf is going to be. But if you want a leaf directly after this one right here, then you would chain 4. But I want a little bit of a stem, so I'm going to be chaining 3, and these 2 chains over here can act as my stem. We're going to repeat the steps for the leaf one more time. So you're going to insert 2 double crochets into that 3rd chain. You've got 1, 2, and 3. So yarn over, go into that 3rd chain, and insert 2 double crochets. Remember, we're always working into that 3rd chain. Now we're going to make the points of the leaf. We do that by chaining 2, and then we insert our hook into that place that I showed you, so through the stitch, and then through the loop that's closest to it, like that. Then you're going to slip stitch. Now insert 2 more double crochets into that same chain. Then you're going to chain 3. Slip stitch into that same chain, and slip stitch into the next chain as well, the one that's right next to where your leaf is. And there you've got another leaf. So that little space right there is the stem. Now if you want a longer stem, you can obviously chain more before you start the leaf. So for example, if you chain 5 to 8, 5 to 10, all of this can be your stem, and then when you want to make a new leaf, you would just chain 3 and repeat the same steps that I showed you. Here is what my leaf branch looks like. It's pretty long. Most of it is random, but afterwards I figured out a pattern. So I would chain 5, then chain 3 for my leaf, make my leaf, and then repeat it. And occasionally I would make some that are closer together and some that are further apart. Once you're done with your leaf chain, you can end on a leaf or you can end on the stem. I like ending it on the leaf. And then I'm just going to chain 2, and then we're going to fasten off by cutting our yarn. Then you pull and tighten, and you're done with your first leaf branch. Now I'm going to show you how to make a slightly larger leaf that you can hang up as a vine as well. You're going to go ahead and start off by making a slip knot. So the last leaf was made up of 3 chains. This one's going to be made up of 8. So you're going to start off by chaining 8. And I'm just going to do 1 more chain, so a total of 9 chains is what I'm going to start off with. Now we're going to go ahead and repeat this pattern by inserting 1 stitch in every chain. You're going to skip the first chain and you're going to go into your 2nd chain from your hook, and you're going to do a single crochet. In the next chain we're going to do a half double crochet, so yarn over, insert your hook into that stitch, into that chain, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. Next we're going to do 1 double crochet, so into the next chain you're going to do a double crochet, and now in the next chain we're going to do 2 double crochets in that same chain right over there. So go into the next chain and do 2 double crochets. That's 1, and in that same chain we're going to do another. Now in the next chain we're going to do a double crochet, just 1. In the next one a half double crochet, and then a single crochet. That is going to be the end of this side of one side of the leaf. Now we're going to start the other side of the leaf by working into these little loops over here, which I refer to as the other side of the chain. So you're going to chain 2 and move your work this way. Now in that same place where you've got your single crochet, you're going to go into it and you're going to be working to the backs. So go into this loop over here, the back of your chain, and you're going to do a single crochet. Other place where you've got your half double crochet, you're going to insert another half double crochet into the backs of the chain, so this other loop of the chain. In the next loop over here, we're going to do a double crochet. and in the next loop we're doing 2 double crochet. So we're basically repeating what we did on the other side. So over here we're going to do 2 double crochets in the same place. Look, in that same place over there. And then in the next one we're doing 1 double crochet. In the next one we're doing 1 half double crochet. And in that last one we're going to do 1 single crochet. And that is the end of our leaf. Now we're going to slip stitch back down the center so that we can make the stem and then start another leaf. So you can chain 2 and slip stitch through. So I'm going to insert my hook through this place over here, and making sure that my yarn is in the back, I'm going to grab onto it and I'm going to slip stitch by pulling it through like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into the center of the leaf, and I'm just going to slip stitch until I come over there. So look, I'm inserting my hook, grabbing on, and slip stitching. Pay attention to how I'm holding my yarn, and make sure that you're working only through the center. Once you reach over here, you're going to see that you've got your chain 2 that we did before we started working on the other side. You're going to first go into the chain 2, so right between the chain 2s, and you're going to slip stitch. And then you're also going to go through the chain itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this little chain that got left behind over there, and I'm going to slip stitch. And that is your first leaf. Now we're going to go ahead and chain however many or whatever length you want for this stem. So I'm typically going to do 5 or 6 chains. Then you're going to start your chain 8 once again to make the leaf. So every leaf is made up out of 8 chains. So we're going to go ahead and get started. 1, 2, 3, and 8. Now we're going to skip that first chain and single crochet into the second chain. After this, you are going to repeat the pattern until your leaf branch is as long as you want it to be. So just pay attention and you'll be repeating these same steps again. After your single crochet, you're going to half double crochet. Remember to work only inside 1 loop, so only grab onto 1 loop. Then we're going to double crochet. In the next chain, we're going to insert 2 double crochets. So remember, in the same chain, 1 more double crochet to make a total of 2 in that chain. Then 1 double crochet into the next chain, 1 half double crochet into the next chain, and 1 single crochet into the next chain. Now we're going to start the other side of the leaf, so you can chain 1, chain 2, and now we're going to be working into the other loop. So you turn your work this way like that. Insert your hook into that loop over there, single crochet. We're basically repeating the same pattern, just in the other loops. Half double crochet. I'm going to show you one more time where I'm inserting my hook right over there. Double crochet. And then 2 double crochets in the same chain, or same loop. Double crochet. And then half double crochet. Now we're going to end our leaf with a single crochet. Make sure that you're not working over the end, so just turn it this way. And we've got our leaf. Now we're going to be slip stitching down the center. Before we do that, you can chain 2 or chain 3. Insert your hook through the center of your leaf and slip stitch. And then hold on to your leaf like how I am, otherwise it might be a bit tricky. Insert your hook through the center and just slip stitch all the way down until you reach your chain 2. So I grab onto it from the back and I just pull it through. There's no specific number of slip stitches you have to do, just until you reach your chain 2. Now I have reached my chain 2 over here. Do you see that little hole right in between them? That's where I'm going to insert my hook and slip stitch one more time. And now I'm going to slip stitch into the chain. So I'm going to find the chain that's closest right over there, and I'm going to slip stitch. And what this is going to do is it's just going to make my leaves hang like this. And I can go ahead and chain however many you want for the stem, then chain 8 for the leaf, and repeat the same process all over again until your branch is as long as you want it to be. Now I'm going to show you how to make this ruffly leaf wine branch. You can make this thin by doing just 1 row, or you can make this a little bit thicker like mine by doing 2 rows, and I'm going to show you how. Start off by making a slip knot, and then you're going to chain the length that you want for this leaf branch. Make sure to chain a bit more, maybe 20 more than the length that you want, because the ruffles are going to pull in tighter and it's going to get a little bit shorter than the original chain length that you started with. I'm going to be chaining 100 for my leaf branches. But for right now, I'm just making a piece for demonstration, so I'm just going to make it a short length so I can show you quickly. Once you've chained the length that you want, so for example, let's pretend that this is the length that I wanted for my leaf branch, please make sure to make it really long, at least 80 to 100 chains. Don't do a small one like I did. Once you've got that, you're going to chain 2 more, and these 2 chains are going to be your turning chains. You're going to skip these 2 chains and insert a double crochet into the 3rd chain. So yarn over, insert your hook into that chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now we're done with our first double crochet. Now in every chain all the way down to where your slip knot is, you're going to insert 2 double crochets in every chain. So yarn over, go into your chain, that's 1 double crochet, and then another double crochet in the same chain. And you're going to repeat this all the way down. So in the next chain I'm doing 1 double crochet and then another double crochet in the same chain. So every chain should have 2 double crochets. Once you're done, you're going to start to see that your work is going to curl by itself, and you can adjust the curl as you go along. Now this is how to make a thin one. However, if you want your ruffle to be a little bit thicker, you can do another row. So to start another row, you're going to chain 2 from where you ended. Remember, you have to work into all of your chains with 2 double crochets. Then turn your work, ignore your chains, they're just your turning chains, and you're going to be working into your stitches. So yarn over, insert your hook into this first stitch, and double crochet. Now for the second row, you don't have to do 2 double crochets. You're only going to do 1 double crochet in every stitch. So insert your hook into every stitch and just put 1 double crochet all the way until you reach the end or your last stitch over here. Then you can fasten off, and that's how to make the ruffly leaf branch. I'm going to show you how to make a few different flowers that are of different sizes. All of them start off with a magic ring. You can make whatever flowers you want to decorate your garlands. And then while your magic ring is still on your fingers, you are going to chain 1, and then you're going to chain another, so you'll have 2 chains. Then you're going to insert 1 double crochet into the magic ring, chain 2, and slip stitch back into the magic ring. This might be a bit tricky to do, so just hold on to your magic ring so that you can slide that loop through. Now we're going to repeat this pattern to make the petals. Chain 2, double crochet into the magic ring, chain 2 again, and slip stitch back into the magic ring. So right now we've got 2 petals. You're going to make a total of 5 petals by repeating the pattern that I showed you. Once you're all done, this is what you should have, and then you can pull your magic ring in tighter to close up that circle in the middle, and this is what your flower should look like. I've got a little knot over here, but just ignore that, it was a mistake. Now we're going to fasten off. The way that I like to do it is just by chaining 2 really tightly, and then I get my scissor and I cut, and I leave a bit of an end so that I can just use this to attach it to the garlands by tying a knot. I'm going to show you that in a bit. I'm just going to tighten everything up, close up my flower, and that's what your finished flower should look like. Next flower is going to have 2 colors, 1 color for the center and 1 color for the petals. You're going to start off by making a magic ring once again, and this time you're just going to chain 1, sorry. Now go ahead and insert 10 single crochets into the magic ring. So insert your hook, pull up a loop, and yarn over and pull through both loops. Make sure you keep count and have a total of 10 single crochets. Now we're done with the center of the flower, so you can pull your magic ring in tighter. And now we're going to switch colors. So go ahead and insert your hook into that very first single crochet. So ignore the chain, your chains never count as a stitch. We're going to go into that first single crochet over there. Once you've got your hook through, you are going to slip stitch. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch colors over here. So just make your slip stitch, pull it through. And now we're going to switch colors to pink. So get your yarn or whatever color you're using and make a loop with it like this. And you're just going to slide it through like that. And then you're going to chain 1. We're going to start our pattern for the petals. In the same stitch where you just slip stitch and then you have your chain 1, you are going to insert a half double crochet and a double crochet. For half double, you yarn over, insert your hook into that same stitch, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops that are on your hook. Now we're going to do our double crochet, so yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, the same one, pull up a loop and yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over and pull through the other 2 loops on your hook. That is your double crochet. Now we're going to be working into the next stitch, and this time we're going to do a double and then a half double. So insert your hook into the next stitch, do a half double crochet, and then do a double crochet and now do a half double crochet. And that is going to be our first petal. And you can end this by chaining 1 and go into the next stitch, slip stitch, and you have ended your first petal. Now we're going to start our next petal, and you're going to repeat this pattern, the one that I'm going to show you now, to make all the petals afterwards. You're going to chain 1 to start the petal, and you're going to start by inserting the first step of the petal into the same stitch where you slip stitched. So our first step is a half double crochet and then a double crochet in the same place where you have your slip stitch. That's my half double crochet. In that same place, I'm going to do a double crochet. Now in the next stitch, we're going to do a double and then a half double crochet. The same stitch, a half double crochet. And then we're going to end this next petal that we just made by chaining 1, and we slip stitch into the next stitch. And now you're going to repeat this to make the other petals. Remember, when you're starting the next petal, you always have to start by inserting the stitches into the same stitch where you slip stitched. That's where you repeat the pattern from, and you do this until you reach the end of the round. I ended my work with a double crochet and half double crochet, and now you're just going to chain 1. And you're going to slip stitch into that stitch over there. It might be really hard to go through. I managed to get it through that stitch over there, and now you're just going to slip stitch. And that is how you're going to end your flower. And now we're going to fasten off, so we're going to chain 2 and cut your yarn, pull, turn it to the back so that you can maintain the flower shape, and then pull and tighten it like that. Here's the size comparison of both the flowers, so you can decide which one you want to make. Now I'm going to show you how to make the slightly larger 6-petal flower. Once again, we're going to start off with a magic ring, and then you're going to chain 1. And now we're going to insert 6 single crochets inside this magic ring. So that is 1, 2, and if you want, you can also mark the first single crochet that you made. Remember, your chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch. Just mark your first single crochet so that it's a bit easier to go through once you're doing round 2. Now pull your magic ring in tighter. Now we're going to start round 2, and you're going to first end round 1 by going into that same marked stitch or the first single crochet that you made. And you're going to slip stitch. And then you're going to chain 1. Now we're going to start round 2 by inserting 2 single crochets in every stitch, including the one where you just slip stitched. So starting from this first stitch, you're going to insert 2 single crochets in that same stitch, and then you're going to go ahead and go all around the round, inserting 2 single crochets in every stitch. So I finished that one. I'm going to go into the next stitch and put 2 single crochets in there as well. You should have a total of 12 single crochets, so you can keep count and then stop once you've done 12 single crochets in total. This might be a little bit confusing, but this is that slip stitch that you did to end your previous round, and this is your chain 1, and this is my first single crochet. So from this first single crochet till this stitch over here, I've got a total of 12. Now we're going to end this stitch. Completely ignore your slip stitch and your chain 1. You're just going to go into that first single crochet that you did in round 2, and you're going to slip stitch once again like that. Pull your magic ring in tighter to close it up. Now we're going to go into that same stitch one more time, and we're going to change colors so that we can start making the petals. So just go into it and grab the color that you want to use for the petals, make a little loop with it, and just slide it through like that. And now we're ready to start the petals. You go ahead and chain 3 with the color that you just attached, and you can also cut away the white because we won't need it anymore. Here's the pattern you're going to repeat to make the petals. You're going to chain 3, and then in the next stitch you're going to insert 4 triple crochets. To triple crochet, you yarn over 2 times, insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and that is your triple crochet. Go ahead and insert 3 more so that there are a total of 4 triple crochets inside that same stitch. I'm doing my 3rd triple crochet, and now I'm going to do my 4th and last in this stitch. Once that's done, we're going to end the petal by chaining 3. And now we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. And that is what your petal should look like. Now you're going to repeat this one more time. So you're going to chain 3. And in the next stitch over there, you're going to insert 4 triple crochets. And once that's done, you're going to chain 3 and slip stitch into the next stitch. And you're going to repeat this all the way around to make your petals. Once you're done, you're just going to chain 3 and slip stitch back into the place where we changed colors. Remember that I do have written patterns on my blog, so after learning how to make these the first time, you can just refer to the written patterns over there and continue making as many as you like. It's going to be a bit tricky to get through, and you're just going to slip stitch. And once you're done, you're going to close off your flower by fastening off. I like to chain 2, get my scissor and cut, pull, turn it to the back, and tighten this way to maintain the shape. And that is your finished flower with 6 petals. Here is the size reference for these 2 flowers. This one is much larger. To make the flower garland to hang it up in your room, you can use any of the different kinds of leaf branches that I'm going to show you. There are 3 types. There are the small leaves, then there's the ruffly leaves, and then there is a slightly larger leaf like this. You can play around, make different patterns, do different shades of greens, and then you can make some different sizes of flowers. I've got a medium size, a large size, and also some small sizes, and it would be so cute if you sewed on some pearls onto this once you're done, and then you can just decorate it however you like. When I'm done making a leaf branch, here's how I attach it to my stick. So I'll get I've just finished the sleeve, I'll just put it near the stick, and I'll put the yarn onto the other side. So I'll just bring it under, and then I will just pull this through the chain that's over there, and then I'll fasten off. So I'm going to chain 2, get my scissor and just cut it, pull pull and tighten this, and now my leaf will be attached to the stick. An extra step that I do is just tie this around itself so that the leaf just stays in place when I hang it up and doesn't move around too much. Just tied a knot right over there. I did the same thing for these, but instead I just took the chain and knotted it against itself. The tack, it didn't work that well, it wasn't sticking, so I just made some chains and I put it on the ends of my stick like this, and then I got some hooks that I had from IKEA and I put them up on my wall over there. That's how I hung it up. I just slid the chains through the hooks, and the same on the other side. Go ahead and get started by making a slip knot. Do this however you like. I'm using a 4.5mm hook. You can use any yarn and hook size. Then go ahead and chain 6. Once you've chained 6, we're going to find our very first chain that is close to the slip knot over here. You're going to insert your hook into that chain, and you're going to slip stitch by grabbing onto the yarn and pulling it through the loops on your hook. Now, this is that little circle that we're going to start off with. Now you can go ahead and chain 4, and we're going to start our first row. Every time you're starting a new row, you're going to chain 4. Now go ahead and insert a double crochet into this circle. So yarn over, insert your hook into the middle of that circle, and just double crochet. After every double crochet, you're going to chain 2. And then you're going to insert another double crochet into that same circle, the one that's made out of your 6 chains. And that is the end of your first row. So you're going to have your circle, and then you're going to have your first row over there. Every time you want to start a new row, you are going to chain 4. And in every row, it's going to increase by 1 space. So let's call this a chain space over here. Once you've chained 4, you can turn your work, and then you're going to insert a double crochet into the chain space. So not in the chains themselves, into the space that's formed by the chains. And then after every double crochet, you have to chain 2. And now we're going to work into the next loop. So in row 1, we made 2 chain spaces, so we're going to be working into the next chain space. So yarn over, insert your hook, and double crochet. All right, now in every row we have to increase the chain space by 1 more. So what we're going to do, once you reach the end of every row, once you've worked into all of your chain spaces, you are going to chain 2. Then you're going to insert a double crochet into the second chain in your last chain space. So let's look at it this way. You've got chain 1, chain 2, and that's the chain where we have to insert our double crochet. So just go ahead and insert your hook into that second chain and double crochet. Let's do this one more time. So every time you want to start a new row, you're going to chain 4. Remember that this pattern is very repetitive, so you're just repeating the same steps again and again, and your chain spaces and the size of your hammock will increase by itself. Then turn your work and insert a double crochet into all of these chain spaces. So go into your first chain space, insert a double crochet. After every double crochet, you have to chain 2. Then you can insert a double crochet into the next chain space. Again, after every double crochet, you have to chain 2. And then in your last chain space, another double crochet. Since we have reached the end of our row, we have to repeat the same steps as before. We just did a double crochet, so we have to chain 2. And now we're going to double crochet into that second chain. So you got your first chain and just go into your second chain. It helps to look at it from the other side. So if you're confused, just look at it from where the chains are a bit more clear. So look at that, the size of our hammock is already increasing and it's forming that triangle shape that we want. Let's do this one more time and then you can keep on repeating the pattern by yourself. To start a new row, chain 4, 4, then turn your work, insert a double crochet into every chain space and chain 2 after every double crochet. So I'm going to double crochet into the chain space, chain 2, double crochet into the next chain space, chain 2, double crochet into the next chain space, chain 2, double crochet into that last chain space that I have for this row, and then it's time to end this row, so I'm going to chain 2, and this time I'm going to double crochet into that second chain. And that is another row complete, and I've increased the triangle shape that we're going for by adding that last double crochet into the chain space. This is what my finished piece looks like. I did a total of 36 rows, and now I'm going to show you how to fasten off your work. At the end, to finish off your work, you can just chain 2, cut your yarn, pull and tighten it, and that's how I like to fasten off. I made a leaf branch and then I just weaved it through the holes. And then I made some flowers and I'm going to show you how I'm attaching them. I'm just going to place the flower and using the ends, I'm going to tie a knot. Okay. And tighten, and then your flower will be attached onto your leaf branch. I got some hooks from IKEA and I just put them up on my wardrobe over there and over here in sort of like a triangle shape, and then I hung the hammock up.